morning we'll be starting with body measurement. And then body measurement is just the act of actually measuring your client, taking measurements from the actual person who will wear your garment. And then body measurement is important because it helps you achieve a well-fitting and structured garment, a balanced garment, a garment that fits your client to the T. And then we all know that without good measurement, dressmaking has not started, because it's like the foundation of everything we have to do. And then to take our measurements, we need some tools, and then that's our measuring tape, a tiny ribbon or an elastic to tie on the waist to get your client's true waistline, and also a book and a pen to record what the measurements you've taken. Now, in taking your measurement, there are some things to look out for. So your client has to be standing in an upright position, which enables you to take the right measurement. Because if your client is slouching, or let's say they are sitting or standing one kind of way, it affects the measurements you take. And then you should ensure also that your clients are dressed in a way that enables you to take their actual measurement, meaning that they can't be wearing a dress that is too tight and compressing their body, because you want to actually get their measurement, so you don't have a situation whereby after taking your measurement and making the dress is now too tight on their body. And also they have to be wearing a good bra. And lastly, if your client is going to be wearing body enhancers with the dress, let's say they are going to be wearing bum pad, hip pad or the like, it is advisable, not that it is advisable, it is necessary for them to come and take their measurements with everything they will be wearing under the dress, so as to ensure that the dress fits, and not a situation whereby you are wearing hip pad with your dress and then when you came to measure, there was nothing like that. And after I finished making the dress with your actual body measurement, now it doesn't fit because there's a body enhancer under the dress. Now, to avoid errors like that, that's why it is advised that your clients wear all of that while coming for measurement. All right, now, while taking your measurements, we take our measurements in cm. So now, your shoulder measurement, you start with your shoulder measurement. Your shoulder measurement is taken from your neck point to the tip of your shoulder. Now, to get the point, when you check on your body, there's a point here where your shoulder connects with your arm. There's a point here. So you can ask your client to move their hand up just so to feel for that point if you are finding it hard to get the exact point where the shoulder is. Now, next is your bust circumference. Taken round the fullest part of your bust. Round the fullest part of your bust. It shouldn't be too tight or too free. It's measured such in a way that it's firm, but then you put one finger in for ease, so your client is able to breathe in their clothes. And then at the back, you make sure it's straight at the back. It's not dropping like this. It's not dropping. You make sure it's straight at the back, like this, all the way to the front. And then you take your measurement. Then next is your waist circumference. Your waist circumference is taken on your client's true waistline. Now this, you could tie a string on your client's waist, on the true waist point, so you know where it is. Or alternatively, you could ask your client to feel for the last strip there and then just bend. And then that point there, that's your true waistline, just as a guide. Now your waist circumference is taken at that point. It shouldn't be too tight, not too free. Just one finger in for ease. Then next, your hip circumference. Your hip circumference is taken round the fullest part of your bum, and then it goes like this. Still same thing, not too tight, no finger in. As a guide, just put one finger in for ease. So in as much as it's tight, your client can still move in the dress. Next is your hip depth. Your hip depth is taken from your true waist, your natural waist, up to the fullest part of your bum at the side. Taken like this. So whatever that is. Now your hip depth, there's a range for it. It's between 20 to 25. So your client could fall in between that range. So it could be 20, it could be 22, it could be 23, 24, 25. That's like just a range. Because we have different body sizes, height and shape. So you can't just use a particular figure as hip depth for everybody. Because it might work for one person, but it would not work for everybody. That's the essence of measuring. So to enable your garment fit at all times. Now, next is your cross back. So your cross back is taken at your back from this point here, where your armhole starts. There's like a line of demarcation there, kind of way. So you measure from that point to the other point to get your back width or across back measurement. Now for your chest measurement, you are measuring over. You are not measuring like this to get the chest width. You are measuring over to get the fullness of your bust included in your measurement. So you are measuring over to get your chest width. And also your across back and across chest measurement is also in your size chart. So as a guide for you to compare what you measured for from your client as to what is on the chart. And then most times the chart is like a guide. It helps you make little correction to what you have measured. Because sometimes, maybe because of the way the client was standing, or there could be differences, but most times it's advisable you stick to the chest, across chest and across hip measurement on your size chart. Then next we have our nape to waist. Your nape to waist is measured at the back. So at the back now, there's a point here at the center on your neck. You could feel a bone there. That's your nape at the back. So from that point, you measure along your spine to your natural waist at the back. And then that's your nape to waist measurement. Now, your bust point. Your bust point measurement is taken from your shoulder to the fullest part of your bust. That's your bust point. Then your under bust, still from your shoulder to underneath your breast. You could use your bra underwire as a guide to get that point. Now your under bust circumference is measured round your under bust. So you measure it to be firm, one finger in for ease. For your measurement, you have to measure your knee length, from your shoulder to your floor length, your actual dress length. Let's say your dress is long and all of that. And then we also have to measure our sleeve also. So now for your knee length, you are measuring from the shoulder, passing through your under bust. So I'm not measuring like this. I'm measuring, passing through your under bust. Your finger should be there to keep it in place. And then you measure all the way down to the top of the knee to get your knee length. Now from that point now, you continue measuring to your ankle to get your ankle length, and then to the floor to get your shoulder to floor length. Now for your sleeve, you tell your client to stand akimbo. It means they should place their hands on their waist. And then you measure from your shoulder to your elbow length, and then all the way to the wrist to get your full length. We measure like this because if your hands are dropped like this, the length of your sleeve is actually shorter than this. Then when you move your sleeve, you notice that when you take your measurement like this, when you move your sleeve, it becomes shorter. And then this gives room for your hand to move freely on your garment. All right, now your top arm is measured round the fullest part of your arm. Now your elbow circumference is measured round your elbow. Not too tight. then one finger in for here. Now because the hand is already bent, there's no need doing this and this for your client. That's the reason why they are standing. And then this way too, it's easier to measure your top arm, because if my hand is straight now, it's relaxed. And then when I move like this, it's kind of a bit tighter than when it's like this. So you take the measurement like this so that there will be ease. Now like this like this is different from like this. Like this, it looks like it's kind of bigger. Or like this. And then for my elbow now, if I take the measurement like this, it's different from like this because there is movement there. And now I've already moved. So when I measure it, even if my hand is dropped and like this, that room is already in my measurement. So there is room for my hand to move in my sleeve. Now your wrist measurement, you measure round your wrist, one finger in for here. Now this wrist measurement now, in a case where you are not making a stretchy fabric and then there's no vent here for your sleeve to pass, and then you know when you take the measurement here and you make it like this, there's no way for your sleeve to be able to pass through, because that's the essence, your hand should be able to pass through. But if I take the measurement round my wrist here and it's not a stretchy fabric, there's no way the client will be able to wear it unless there is a button or a slit at this point. So now you take the measurement round the fullest part of your palm here to ensure that it moves. So for the foundation blocks, we have our basic skirt block, basic bodice block, basic pant block, your basic sleeve block, and your basic dress block. So now that's like the starting point. That's where we start from before we now do variation to our pattern to achieve different styles we want to make. So this morning we'll be making our basic skirt. So the first step is to get your border line. So your border line should be between 1/2 to 1 inches. So 1 inch from the top of your paper and 1 inch at the side. To get your block width is your hip divided by 2, your hip circumference divided by 2. So now for our skirt block, we are going to be taking our measurements in inches because like we are not working with a lot of measurements, so it's easier and faster when we do it like that. So the hip measurement I'm working with is 40. So my block size will now be my hip circumference divided by 2. That's 40 divided by 2, which is 20. Square it down, meaning I roll my lines down. Now, the length of my block is from my waist to my knee length. Now, for your basic skirt block, your skirt block is stopping at your knee length. Now, for other styles, maybe you want a longer skirt or a shorter skirt, you can always adapt it from there, make it longer or shorter. For your basic skirt block, stops at your knee length. Now, so my knee length here is 24 inches. Now, measuring from the top line, this line at the top is our top line, and also our waistline. So now, this is your knee length. The next thing to do is to get your hip depth. That's your hip line. And then you are measuring from your top line or your waistline. The hip depth in this case is 9 inches. So you are measuring 9. And then you square across. So this right here is our hip line. Now the next step is to divide your skirt block by 2. Now the measurements here, you divide it by 2, then you mark at the top and at the bottom. Then you connect both points with a straight line. So my skirt block is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So I'll mark 10 at the top, 10 at the bottom. And then I connect both points with a straight line. Now while drafting, we'll draft from the back to the front, meaning this is our center back and this point is side center front, and this middle here is our side back, side front. Now the next thing to do is to get your calculated waist, and then your calculated waist is your waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that. Now the waist here is 32. 32 divided by 4 is 8. Then plus 1 inch for that, which is 9 inches. So I will take that measurement on my waistline from center back, 9 inch, and also from center front to the side, 9 inch. After marking the point on your waistline for both front and back, you connect that point to nothing on your hip line at the side. So I'm connecting the back, so it ends at my side back on the hip line. I do the same thing for the front. Now next is to get our dart position. Now to get your dart position is your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, or you could use your waist circumference divided by 8, any which way you choose. So here the waist is 32. 32 divided by 8 is 4. So in front, I am going to measure 4 inches from my center front on the waistline. So this is my dart position now. To enable me get a straight line, I take that 4 inches and then I mark it down here. And then I square down. Now the length of your dart is 2 inches above your hip line for all sizes. So on my dart line, I will come up on my hip line by 2 inches. Now this becomes the length of my dart. From the waistline to this 2 inches point, that becomes the length for my dart. Now my dart is 1 inch. So on my dart line, I measure ½ inch at both sides of the line to get my 1 inch dart. After doing that, you connect both points to nothing on this your 2 inch point with a straight line. Like a curve here. So this becomes my true waistline for the front. Now coming to the back, you go at center back, you come in by ½ inch to create like a contour for your zipper, because your back is not straight and then you want your zipper to lay really well. So that ½ inch, you connect it to nothing on your hip line at center back with a straight line. Now to get your dart position for the back, you are measuring the measurement you took for your front dart, in this case was 4 inches. Now that 4 inches, we are going to be measuring it from this contouring we did, not from the actual center back line, because this part now is no longer part of our skirt again. So now this point now becomes our new center back. So we are taking the 4 inch from there, and then we extend that line all the way down. Now the length for your back dart is the same as the front, meaning will come in 2 inches from your hip depth, and that's constant for all sizes. Now remember that when we were drafting our skirt, for our calculated waist, we did our waist circumference divided by 4 plus 1 inches. Now in the case of the back, we've already removed ½ inch. That means on this our pattern now we have ½ inch left. So therefore our dart becomes ½ inch. So at both sides of this our dart line, you measure ¼ inch to get your ½ inch dart. After doing that, you connect with a straight line to nothing at the 2 inch point. And now we are done with our skirt block. Now you notice we have a curve in front here. It means that when you cut your skirt and you sew back, these 2 points will not be equal. So to avoid that, there is a need to through your dart so that both points will be equal while you sew. So you close your dart and then you withdraw the curve. So that this is blending in, is coming from here and then blending into this line. That way, you see when we open it, there's a slight difference. Here came up a bit. That's the little excess that you have when you sew your dart. So now when you sew it, it will be equal. Alright, so now this is our basic skirt block. After you are done, labeling is important. You label your pattern. So we've already, this is our center front, center back, this is side back and side front. And also it's important to indicate your green lines. The green line is just the direction in which you are cutting your pattern on your fabric. So this is your green line. Now for your back, you are cutting ×2, and then the front you are cutting on fold. The reason why this is important to label your pattern is because most times you might not be the one cutting your pattern, and then you want whoever picks up your pattern to understand what they are to do with the pattern and how it's to be cut on fabric. Because even if my measurements and everything is correct and the pattern is not placed properly on the fabric, there's going to be an issue. Let's say for example now the front that is on fold, now there's now a seam there. And also again, it is also important to indicate on your pattern your sewing allowance. Now for your center back, you are adding 1 inch for your zipper allowance. On your waistline is ½ of an inch for sewing allowance. Then on your hemline is 1 inch for hemming allowance. At the side is 1 inch for front and 1 inch for the back.